Special live stream. We are going to pick them. We are going to talk about the Auburn football record, offer some predictions, especially from you guys, the viewers and listeners. Let's get into it right now. War Eagle Auburn family, War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us. Whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, we appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, spending some time being part of our little family within the Auburn family. And we're going to have a fun live stream tonight. As you come into the stream, most of you know the drill. We'd love for you to start the show off by smashing the like button if you feel like we have earned that from you. But also, we'd love for you to share it out with your friends, your families, on the social medias that you're finding this show. Share it out. Help us grow our little family within the Auburn family. And of course, start the show off by checking in with us. Post where you're watching from, city, state, or international. You can do this if you're watching live. You can do this on the replay. It's a great way to get started and let us know your thoughts about what we're talking about here today. As I alluded to earlier this week, we had plans to get together and do a pick'em show for Auburn football's 2023 schedule. Now, effectively, this will not be my final prediction, so I want to be clear on that. I still have plans to put out a little piece of content about that for you guys, time permitting. But what I always love to do is hear you all's perspective. And I'll be honest, I'm probably cheating a little bit. You guys can help me kind of feel the temperature of what should be my ultimate pick for the season record. So a little bit of cheating on my part, but it's always fun to get together with you all and think and kind of talk about what you're thinking about. What do you think the record's going to be? I think just kind of setting the table for us tonight, a lot of people would assume that Auburn could go one of two ways. And I guess there's multiple ways that you could go. I think a lot of people think Auburn's either going to tank or overachieve. And that overachieving mark is really dependent upon what your perspective is. Because I think some people would say 8-4, 9-3 is overachieving. Some people would say, no, it's 10-2 that's overachieving, that kind of area. And that's probably true. But also tanking, meaning falling apart, that's kind of a loose categorization too, right? Because there's a lot of context that's missing within that. This is a team that is going through another regime change in a matter of 2 to 3 years. It is trying to find its identity, its feet, its foundation. It's got a lot of transfers in. So really your perspective of what is a success, what is a failure is very fluid, but we want to get into some of those things tonight. So we're going to need a lot of feedback from you all as we go throughout the stream. We're going to take some comments and questions as they come up tonight. So please do chime in with your thought processes on that. So I guess maybe to start off in the room, if you all have any kind of just generic thoughts about the season, hold off on those records real quick. Some of you have already been sharing those, but I want to see maybe what some of you all think. What are your anticipations? Are you feeling confident about this season? Are you feeling less confident than you thought you would? Where is your mindset at before we get into the picks for each of these games? While you're thinking about some of those things, let me go ahead and give you the season as it is laid out. Let me make sure I've got my correct setup that I want to pull up for you guys. We'll be going off of fbsschedules.com tonight for the purposes of looking at everything. It's got the times and everything. Keep in mind that is Eastern time, as it says right there. Your season will consist of a game versus UMass, at Cal, at home versus Samford, at Texas A&M, home versus Georgia, a bye week at LSU, Ole Miss at home, at Vanderbilt, if they have somewhere to play, at Arkansas, and then New Mexico State and Alabama back to back in Jordan-Hare Stadium. And of course, if Auburn does overachieve and somehow makes it to the SEC championship, is there anybody bold enough, brave enough to predict that one? If you're predicting a SEC championship in Auburn's first year, I want to know what you're smoking. And I don't mean that as a disparaging comment to this team. I have full belief in their capabilities to shock the world, but I'm trying to really operate off of context and reality this year, that this is going to be truly a foundational building year. I don't think you're going to see the magical Gus Malzahn year one, where he basically re-inherited his team that he was only removed for 1 year from. And much different scenario where we switched from a Gus Malzahn system and completely changed to different stuff under Brian Harsin. And now we're kind of not going back to that, but going back to maybe a vein of that. So 2 of those switches in a matter of 2 to 3 years can just really drastically change everything. So that's kind of what we're working with tonight. What I want to know from you all is your thoughts, as we talk about these things, what you're thinking about the particular game, what you're thinking about that particular moment in the season. What are your thoughts on it? WT says, I think our ceiling is 8 wins, but realistically it's going to be 7, either of which I'll be very happy about. It's about setting the culture of a winning program. Brian says most important game will be Texas A&M. We'll get there in just short order, so we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. The play in that game will tell the tale of Auburn's season. I would say that is a very important game. Maybe not for that reason necessarily, Brian, but obviously that's why we're doing this stream. I want to hear everybody's perspectives on this. This is why it is a pick'em stream for you, the fans that are watching live, especially, but those of you on the replay too, you can kind of play along at home and give us your perspectives on that. So when we get to the end of this, we will have a collective record that we have chosen as a group, taking votes. So those of you that are quietly sitting back there watching right now, I know there's a bunch of you there. I can see you. Get ready to chime in and let us know your thoughts on each of these games. So with that in mind, we're obviously not done talking about the UMass games. We're going to talk about it more this week, obviously, but just for the sake of doing this completely all the way through, we're going to start at the very beginning and talk about the UMass game just a little bit. Now, folks, let's mention this. Any of you thoughts that you have on it, please share. Every time you see this type of team coming up every single year, you're expected to win. Those are the expectations, and rightfully so. However, if Georgia State has taught us anything, is never, ever, 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 ever underestimate a team like this coming into your house, even into your house. Now, different circumstances, different things going on with that team and that program at that time. So I am talking a little bit, my grammar is going to get correct facetiously about this, but the reality is Auburn should win this game. Can we just be honest? Is there anybody out there that is truthfully, deeply concerned about Auburn versus UMass? That's not a slight in any way towards them. It is simply just saying, hey, this is Auburn. This is UMass. What could really happen here, right? Jeff says, establish the run early and we should handle UMass. I'm curious, John says, if we can cover the 36-point margin Vegas predicts. Yeah, I saw some commentary about that today, and I will admit I'm not a big bets person. I don't gamble or anything like that, so I don't get into that world. But I understand what happens when the line is set and all that kind of stuff. And I saw 36 points come up. I was like, ooh, it's quite a bit of margin there. So let's just play this for sake of argument, right? So say Auburn wins 10-46. That's that's the 36 margin of victory that they're predicting. And that's a pretty respectable game result for both teams, given what we know about each of them, right? Deshaun says they should smoke UMass. Easy breezy. Yes, I agree. I agree that it's probably going to be the case here. So I don't want to spend a lot of time talking on this one, but I also don't want to not give an opportunity to talk about this a little bit. UMass should be a win. We overpower them with numbers. All right, we got a good crowd assembled here now, so here's how it's going to operate going forward. Once we're done talking about it, I want everybody to vote in the chat right now. Win or loss. You can even just type W or L. No ties right now. Give me your prediction for this game. If you want to throw a score prediction in there, you are more than welcome to, but we are really just focused on the record right now. So give me a W, give me an L. I hopefully won't get anything other than that, but and I hope we won't see anything other than W's here, because I really want someone to make a case for me that UMass can actually win this game. When you've got a 36-point win margin, there you go. So they're starting to come in now. All the wins, the W's, Jeff, Travis will give people a little bit more time. There's Devin checking in. Good to see you at baseball practice. I feel like Devin's always at base. She's either in the kitchen or she's at baseball practice. That's been a little bit. Deshaun, I recognized your face in there. Sports with Cord on this Facebook page. I knew it was you. I was like, I know his face. Recognized you, buddy. Good to see you. Thanks for being over there too. All right. We have got all wins. I don't see anybody else coming through. So we're going to call this one a win. So Auburn versus UMass in terms of our collective pick 'em tonight. Auburn wins. Let's move to Cal. Auburn's first time going out there to the California Golden Bears, playing at Cal Memorial Stadium in Berkeley. I'll be honest with you. I really wish, hold off on the wins and losses on this just yet. Any thoughts about this particular game? I'd love to know. I would love to have gone out to this game just because of the novelty factor of it. And given the context, I'm using that word a lot tonight, of what's going on with the Pac-4. Is that what we call it now? Anybody, are y'all still calling it the Pac-12, or just the implosion that's going over there? I mean, effectively, if you've got tickets to this game out at Berkeley, you are seeing the end of the Pac-12. This is the last season it'll be the way that it is. And that's kind of a cool piece of history to talk about here. Yes, someone brought it up. Hope it's over quick so I can go to bed. I will also be hoping for that. I'm not exactly sure where I'll be watching the game, if it will be in Alabama or if I'll be here. I live in the Eastern time zone. So I'm kind of rooting for that Alabama one, but I might still be here. What I do know is this: I've got some stuff going on, good stuff, home stuff that I do need to be well rested up for probably the next day. And I am not going to be well rested after this game because, of course, we're going to do a live stream. If we can do about a 2 to 3 a.m. live stream of baseball when they played Oregon State, we're going to do it for the Cal game. So it's going to be a long one here. If we lose to Cal, it will be a long season. Yeah, I would say it's not one of those moments where you panic, Devin, but it is certainly like, oh, it's a reality check, isn't it? If you were to lose to Cal here. WT says could be a trap game. Very new team going a long distance for an away game. Absolutely. And this will really be a good test for the logistical nature of getting your team there, getting them prepared for an away game. Because it's one thing to take a bus ride up to Tuscaloosa or a bus ride up to Athens. It's another thing to get on a plane and do that. Like you do that for, I'm sure they do it for LSU. They do it for Arkansas, Texas A&M. I don't actually know exactly where they all bus to those different places, but yeah, it could be a big tester in terms of having your team prepared for the travel road situations there. Cal game could be tricky, going to be close, but Auburn will pull away late. That's kind of what I expect, Deshaun. I'm expecting this one to be a little bit surprising when people flip over to this game that aren't Auburn fans that are trying to go to bed. They're like, oh, hold on. What's going on there? What's going on there? Really weird. 10:30 kick. Yep, 10:30 kick. So the average game is about 3.5 hours, I think is what the statistic is, given this year with some clock changes that may go a little bit quicker. But yeah, it's going to be a late one. So yeah, and I know nothing about them. Hopefully I can find us an expert to preview that week with you guys coming up in a week. And maybe get some insight on them. All right, let's go ahead and predict this one because I am going to be on a little bit of a time schedule tonight. So I need to stop yammering on. Right now, W or L? Give me a win or a loss for this game. What is your gut telling you? Some of you expressed concerns about maybe this is a trap game. What is your gut telling you about Auburn's trip out to Cal, to Berkeley? First time ever, last time ever being with the Pac-12 as it is today. Is anybody concerned truthfully about a loss at Cal. This was the year to be concerned about. If there was a year to be concerned about it, this would be the year. All right, we got win all the way down so far. There you go. Devin says, I watch them every season. If I wasn't driving, I would pontificate. There you go. Yeah, please be safe. All right. We'll give another few seconds here for anybody else that wants to drop in a W or an L, but clearly our vote is going to go one way or the other. You know, it's W. All right, we'll call that a win. Auburn beats UMass. Auburn versus Cal. That's a win. 2-0 in the season. Let's move on to Samford. I know you guys are like itching to get to the meat of this thing, so let's kind of talk through this just briefly. Any quick thoughts about Samford? Let me know. We'll talk about, I'll ask for the win and loss here in just a second. Homecoming game, way too early for a homecoming game, but still going to be fun. By the way, it was really interesting. This game was sold out very early on with the big games. And that tells you how important homecoming the weekend is to the Auburn faithful. And it is for every school, but Auburn fans take homecoming seriously, even in the heat. So Samford will be coming to town, a night game. Supposedly we've got new pyrotechnics and stuff that I think are going to be on full and lights. They're going to be on full display for this homecoming game. It's going to be a good day on the plains, especially if we get some half decent weather. Could be really interesting, right? So let's go ahead and give our win or loss for this one. I don't think I need to say much. So go ahead and drop a W or an L, win or loss, however you want to say it, for the group vote. And we'll count this one and move on to the SEC competition. But let's get an official vote in here from everybody. I do think that Samford, has had some years where they've been a little bit better than expected. But I don't know that they're going to be able to come into Auburn's house and beat them ever. Samford's going to score first. Then after that, nothing. That's a, highly likely scenario there. We got a win, and win. Any other votes coming in? Or are y'all just bored with that discussion at this point? I think everybody says win. So if we look at this one, we got another win coming in. There you go. So we'll count that one in the win column. It seems like we all agree that there is going to be a 3-0 start for Auburn football for the 2023 year. This, my friends, is where the rubber meets the road. If there's ever a gauntlet in the season, this is it right here. Again, hold off on your win-loss predictions until I ask for it. Let's talk about this game. You go 3-0 to start the season is our prediction, and then you got to go out to Kyle Field. Hey, it's my field. Kyle Field out there in College Station, Texas. What do y'all think about this game? Do you think this team is ready? Do you think Texas A&M is for real? Obviously, we will know a lot more about Auburn. We'll know a lot more about Texas A&M. By the time we get to that point, Texas A&M will have played they're playing somebody pretty decent to start off with, I believe. Is it Miami or is that 2 seasons ago? Anyway, the reality is Auburn is playing a pretty easy schedule to start off the year. Their big non-conference opponent is not much of a challenge this year in terms of when you compare it to like a USC, an Oregon, a Washington, an Arizona or something like that. This is a year that you definitely want to catch a Cal like that because thank you, Brian. Miami. I thought they were playing Miami again. So that could be a challenge for them. Maybe comparable to the Cal game. I'm not really up on how Miami's looking this year, but to me, it seems they'll probably have the bigger challenge there. Texas A&M will be the big test for how we will become a team, very sure. This matchup comes down to Hunter. If he can run that ball, they win this game. If he doesn't, we lose. Well, I would say even outside of Hunter, the entire run game, and that goes even to our offensive line. If they haven't gotten it figured out by this game in the first 3 games, if they're going to be able to create a run holes for the running backs, boy, this one could be tough. Look, we've all made jokes about Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M and how much they squandered last year's talented team, even though it was very young. And, they say lightning doesn't strike twice. So I believe this year they may have a little bit of an upswing. It's going to be tough, really, really tough to pull a win out of here. And a lot of people believe this is where a losing streak starts for Auburn. I'm not certain that it will. And that's the struggle with making a pick and trying to say what's going to happen at this point at the beginning of the season, because we don't know what these two teams are going to look like. It'll be a very, very interesting conversation when we get down that way. Let's see here. Undecided on this one. Auburn owns College Station. We'll see. We'll ask for the official things in here. Yeah, there was a time in this matchup where Auburn or Texas A&M, the visiting team, was the winner. That changed. I was at that game where Auburn, that Seth Williams catch in the end zone, which was beautiful. But let's talk about it now. Win or loss, post it in the chat. Just give me one letter or one word to count that vote. Win or loss, W or L, post it in the chat right now. If you're watching live, if you're watching the replay, you can play along to yourself. But what do you think? Can the Tigers pull off the win in College Station? It is truly a toss-up, I think, because we don't know what Texas A&M is actually going to be able to do this year. I'm starting to see a lot of optimism in the chat. We'll bring it all up here in just a second. And, I love the optimistic nature of everybody here. We shall see. All right, we got a win, W in a close one, a win, I believe in Freeze, so W. Folks, so you all think that we're going in our biggest challenge of the season, fourth game in, that we're going to beat Texas A&M Aggies. Boy. Can I just add that everyone should watch the week 2 game? Yeah, that's really what's going to tell us about this game more than probably even the Auburn first 3 games, is what Texas A&M does in that game. Is it? And I don't know if it's in Texas A&M or in Miami. I feel like it's in Texas A&M this year. But it seems like we all want to predict a win based on everybody that has voted so far. So with that in mind, we have got 4 games into the season. We all have predicted as a collective, whether you agree with it or not, the votes that have been cast. We say 4-0 start for Auburn. How do y'all feel about the bye week? We'll move on. It's the oldest joke in college football discussion. Can you win the bye week? Let's move on to I skipped it. Let's talk about Georgia. My bad, guys. Georgia back home in Jordan-Hare Stadium. Wait just a second for your win or loss prediction. Let's talk about this matchup just a little bit. Want to hear your perspectives on it. The number 1 team in the land currently. Will they remain there? I don't know. Will Auburn be the first one to upset them? Most people would tell you no. If there was a year it was going to happen, it'd be this year in Jordan-Hare with a little bit more of an optimistic outlook. If I remember back to the Georgia game, first year in Auburn with Brian Harsin, there was a lot of, I won't say a lot of optimism, but there was some solid optimism going to that game that if Auburn could establish itself at home, they would find themselves in a pretty good situation with Georgia. Boy, were we wrong. I would say, based on what we know about Georgia and what they've lost, that situation 2 seasons ago was much better for them than this situation coming to Auburn. Brian doesn't want us to talk about it. Georgia is just talented, Deshaun says. Now, look, yes, we're not going to argue the fact that Georgia's talented. We all know that. We've all seen how they've been recruiting. I still continue to contend. That doesn't mean everything. Texas A&M last year was proof of that. WT says, barring injuries, Georgia. Don't see us upsetting them. It's a very reasonable take on that. It's not that Auburn won't be good enough. It's just that Georgia is going to beat everyone. And see, this is much a bigger discussion here, Deshaun and everybody else. I feel like the hype on Georgia is too big without them doing something on the field first. Now, I understand why they're number one, and I'm not going to dispute that. I mean, I'd probably make a case for a few other teams other than them, just given who they've lost. You know, a quarterback like Stetson Bennett, who comes out of nowhere and is just so proficient and dominant as a college quarterback, is just unheard of. And if he's not there, I'm not sure that they have the same level of success. They're still successful. So there's a lot of things that they're missing this year defensively that I think is going to really make them susceptible to much more this year. But is it Auburn? All fairness, the Georgia first game under Harsin was the year that the wide receivers had 18 drops. And that's true. A little bit more proficiency there. Who knows, right? All right, let's pick this game. What say you? Give me a win or a loss, just this game. W or loss, W or L. And I want to know what you guys think about this game. What is your gut telling you? Do you think we're going to upset number one team? Likely going to be number one team. I've looked at their schedule. It's a pretty cupcake schedule. See, that's the thing too. The number one ranking and expectations for Georgia may be based on how easy their schedule looks a little bit. It's going to get much tougher for them next year. Votes are starting to roll in, keeping them coming. W or L, win or loss, post that in the chat on the replay. You can put it in the comment section if you're playing along. Excuse me. But this year, I think, will be a lot more interesting of a game, but maybe not enough to get the Tigers to win. L, but might be a fun game. I love that perspective. People are lamenting having to type L. L's all the way around. I'm going to agree with you all. As skeptical as I am that Georgia is as good as advertised, I still don't know enough about Auburn to say that they can be the one to upset them. But Auburn, here's the thing. Let me put it this way. Let's assume Georgia comes in undefeated. Let's assume Auburn comes in undefeated. If they went to Kyle Field and took down Texas A&M, they're going to be ranked at that point. You telling me College Game Day is not coming to Auburn for the Deep South's oldest rivalry at the end of September? Boy, that's going to be pretty. Going to be pretty. Against Georgia because they are the defending national championships, but it'll be it will be a good game. It's going to be a close one. L there as well. All right, so we're going to count that one as an L. So as a collective, we have all agreed we are going with the 4-1 record as a collective. You may not agree with this, but this is what we're doing as an exercise together. So we'll keep moving forward. I made the joke already, so I won't do it again. We'll beat the bye week. So we will do LSU game time. Let's talk about it first, then we'll drop our predictions in here. Game time will be determined at a later point. Now, the interesting thing about this is typically the LSU game, if both teams are decent, there'll be that 3:30 CBS kickoff. That's not happening this year with the whole CBS dynamic. They may still do that with the ESPN deal, but Tiger Stadium, LSU is going to be that other big team. So you literally go from, even with a bye week in between, Auburn facing the number one team to facing probably will be the number 2 team in the SEC. Most people expect that. Auburn beat LSU for the very first time in Baton Rouge in like 20 years. We have Brian Harsin to thank for that. Let's all give him his credit where his credit is due. Let's just be honest here. But LSU, what do you guys think about this game? Do you believe the hype of Brian Kelly? Here's what I'll say about this, where I sit right now. I believe that LSU's got more, there's more capability of LSU than Georgia. And that may be a stupid hot take, but to me, I feel more confident about LSU being as good as advertised than I do Georgia being as good as advertised. Anyone going to LSU game, beware the pee balloons. You know, I think they've stopped that. I think they basically just punch people now, because my wife got punched in the stomach when we went. Well, she was my girlfriend at the time. I got cussed out by a 5-year-old and then an 80-year-old, like back to back on my way up to defend her from the person that punched her. So I think they've moved on from those tactics and are now talking mainly about just being violent. That's me being funny. Obviously, there are good LSU fans out there, but they as a collective do not get a good reputation. Yes, we beat them for the first time since 1999. Brian Kelly and LSU recruiting have hit their stride. They are formidable. Everyone saw that coming, right? Like, if you didn't see Brian Kelly, even with the rocky start that he had with trying to have that Southern accent and kind of, it just didn't feel like the right fit, you knew he was going to get that rolling. With LSU as the team and program that they are historically, it wasn't going to take long. Freeze always plays good against LSU. Won't be any different. Auburn going to show up. So I think they'll show up, especially if you come off a Georgia loss, maybe a little bit of a heartbreaker. Maybe they don't lose by that much and feel like you were in the game, kind of reassess after a bye week. Auburn could absolutely show up in Baton Rouge riding the high of what they did 2 seasons ago, right? Just thinking about how we don't think about it, it'll just let you mad. It'll just make you mad. All right, let's do a prediction now. Win, loss, W or L. Put that in the chat right now. Just the single thing. Win, loss, W, so I know what to look for when I'm counting it up, tallying it up. This is one of those where I think we need to make sure we get the count right. What is your prediction? We will take a collective vote here. What Kelly is doing at LSU shows that it is almost impossible to win at Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's biggest deficit is that they won't join a conference. I really do. I really think if they were to join the ACC, well, who knows now, they were to join somebody, they would see a little bit more success. People may disagree with that, but I really, really do think that's part of the problem there. W, got a loss, win, and a win. So we got 3-1 right now that I see. Type in W, L, single win, single loss. Let me know so I can count that in the vote. I see some of y'all put it in your commentary, but give it to me in just a single comment, the win or the loss, because sometimes it gets lost in there. Do you want to be part of the official count? Right now, our collective is saying that Auburn goes into Baton Rouge and wins 2 in a row, 2 away games in a row. A win. It looks like we're going to head that direction. Is there anybody out there watching currently that wants to counter with a few losses? If not, here we sit. Here we sit. All right, we will call it the win column. It is Auburn takes down the mighty LSU Tigers, maybe their first loss of the season. I haven't looked at their schedule yet, so I don't know where that falls in line. But our collective has chosen for Auburn to have a 5-1 season thus far. Halfway through the season, folks. Let's keep powering through this thing. Next game up on the schedule, Ole Miss at home. It will be the remembrance game of the 1993 undefeated team. Be a big day. Hopefully it will be a night game. I don't know. It doesn't. That Mississippi State game coming up may be a day game. So hopefully we can get a night game out of this one in Jordan-Hare for SEC matchup. Would be really, really fun. Obviously, there's ties back to Hugh Freeze. What are your general thoughts about this game and this matchup before we get into asking about wins and losses? Obviously, there's a lot of dynamics with this game. Ole Miss could be considered the back end of that gauntlet, depending on how well they do this year. They're ranked 22nd currently. Ole Miss and Kiffin. Was Kiffin coming to Auburn? Ole Miss and Auburn fan animosity has kicked up a notch over the past year, at least football-wise. There's been a lot that you could discuss with this. Hugh Freeze's ties back to Ole Miss. Definitely a lot could be talked about here. Us versus Lane Kiffin's ego. Johnny Freshwater. Am I missing a joke there, WT? This game comes down to the better coach, but should be a high scoring one. Depending upon how good our defense is, and Lane is from time to time fielded some pretty good defenses, maybe athletes on defense is the way to say it. I think history is going to predict that, yes, they're going to be more offensively proficient than defensively. So this one being at Auburn could pay into Auburn's favor here. W against Ole Miss. I say that too, but at the same time, I just, I know that word grosses people out. All right, let's go ahead and predict right now in the chat. I'm only going to count it if it says W or L or just win or loss. So if you want it to count in the vote, post that right now. You can also post any final thoughts that you have, but it needs to be in a single comment. And it will count it on the vote. Win or loss in Jordan-Hare, Auburn versus Ole Miss. Lane used the name Johnny Freshwater when he would go to the college bar. I didn't know. Is that real? Is that really real? I'm so glad we didn't get him. Yeah, look, I told a lot of people this, that when the Freeze thing seemed to have some legs, I'm sorry, the Lane Kiffin thing had some legs, that I was like, I'm not going to be happy with it, but I could be a lot worse. In fact, I would have said at the time that Lane checked all the boxes if Hugh wasn't an option. And some people said he wasn't at the time, given things that we've just talked ad nauseum here about. Still wouldn't have liked it, though, but he made the most sense at the time. I'm still thankful we didn't get that. All right, we got win, 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 and win. Anybody got a loss on this one? I would say if there's a disappointing loss, when I say disappointing loss, I mean one that people were pretty confident Auburn had a good shot at winning. This would be it. This is at home. Ole Miss, I think, is going to be better than maybe their record says at the time. I haven't looked actually what I predicted. I'm going to a little pick them with some other podcasters, and I should have had that. I should have had that pulled up so I could reference that. That's not my official prediction for the week, but it looks like everybody here has predicted a win. So we're going to continue on as that 6-1 on the year. Our collective has decided so far only the loss to Georgia at this moment. Let's keep moving forward. Mississippi State in Jordan-Hare, 2 games in a row. This will probably be a day game, 11 o'clock kickoff, but it'll probably feel wonderful. It'll probably be chilly in the morning, that first chill of the air. Just some quick commentary about this. Anybody got any thoughts about this one? Obviously, the Mike Leach scenario in this looms large. If you also want to talk about the last time they were here, and we had to witness that historic comeback for them. We owe State, but there is there's a part of me that watches this game or watches this team this year and just feels bad for them. Don't want to lose to them. Don't want to give up a game to them. But at the same time, gosh, they're going through some stuff. And I think it is going to be a rough year for Mississippi State. And I have a feeling that, unfortunately, the team, the program, and the fans, desire to see retribution happen is going to win out in all of this. And just going to see an annihilation here. Zach Arnett is a great defensive mind. There was rumors he was going to be our defensive coordinator if that job unfortunately didn't open up. But it looks like I just think it's going to be a rough year for them. All right. Right now, give me a prediction. W or L or win or loss, single word, single letter. If you want it to count on the vote starting now, put that in the chat and we will do our official tally to move forward. I think I know where we're heading on this, but we're going to go through this formally. We did it with UMass. We did it with Samford. We did it with Cal. Everybody so far. We're going to do it with New Mexico State in just a little bit. We're almost. We still got a few games left. W, truly a blowout. If you guys want to type it in, I'll give you another few seconds to get your vote in officially. But I think everybody has pretty much spoken here. Last loss at home to them was my worst loss ever endured in here. I mean, yes, in terms of like demoralizing, I think I was so numb to it at that point. The way the season was going with Bo being hurt and all that stuff, I was just like, oh, it is what it is. All right, we'll call it a win. Auburn is 7-1 on the season, 8 games into the season, 4 more left. You guys have predicted an 8-1 year. If Auburn's only lost to potentially the number 1 team in the land, Georgia, at this point, they're still in the top 25, doing very well. Vanderbilt. Biggest question for this one is, will they have a stadium to play in by the time we get there? It's going to be the joke that just runs up and down all around every single way. No prediction, easy win. I'm going to still ask for it, so hold on a second. Look, I actually wanted to go to this game because it was my goal to go to every single SEC stadium for an Auburn football game before my time is up here on this earth. And I was trying to do that with the East teams because, hey, look, we all didn't think it would ever end, this weird scheduling thing, divisional thing. And unfortunately, I guess fortunately, it is changing. So we will see teams more often. In fact, we'll see them again next year in Auburn. So if you like Vanderbilt, you're getting your fill the next 2 seasons. All right, prediction time. Single W, single L, or a single word, win or loss, if you want it to count in the official vote. I know it seems redundant, but if you guys can just humor me, let's go through this formally. Give me your prediction for the game. We should have a good team by this game, but we cannot be overconfident. And I would say, too, to that, WT, that even if Auburn comes into this with losing to Texas A&M, losing to Georgia, losing to LSU, I think if you've lost to Ole Miss 4 in a row, that's a really hard pill to swallow at this point for a team that people are very hopeful for. But even then, that's going to teach you a lot about this team going forward, and you're probably going to be able to put together a more solid into the year, given what's coming up at the end of the season. All right, not many votes here, so we'll just go with it. Win, 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 win. At this point, 8-1 on the year, with probably the trappiest trap game of the season for Auburn. It could be so much going on there. What do I mean by that? Because we don't really know how good Arkansas is going to be. They got KJ Jefferson this year. Will they be a dark horse in the SEC West? Could be. I don't think so. But it is at Fayetteville, and Auburn, outside of Gus Malzahn, has not had the most success out there, if I remember correctly. Well, I think they've still been pretty successful, but lost more than I would have liked them to out there. Tough place to play. Tough place to get a win. Sam Pittman puts together decent teams, if not good teams. And who knows, maybe this is one they have marked on their calendar as the team that they need to get over the hump on. And they have Raheem Sanders, thank you. What do they call him? Rush? What's his name? He has a name, that like a nickname. What's his nickname? I cannot remember. Curious about the backstory about their stadium. I don't know it. Clint would know it off the top of my head. David Frank says the Hogs are dangerous. Rocket, thank you. I knew you were going to help me, Deshaun. Rocket. I was like, I know it's an R. Yeah, that combo, that running back, quarterback combo there, that could be very deadly in Fayetteville. So, for time's sake, since we got 2 more to talk about, let's go ahead and predict this. Right now, type in win, the word loss, or the letter W or the letter L for an official vote on this. Go ahead and give me your prediction there. What do you guys think? Is this the trap game for Auburn? I think it would be a trap game, whether they were coming off what we've predicted thus far, an 8-1 start or a 4-4 start. Well, 5-4 start. What say you all? WT says L. David Frank says W. Travis says W. Deshaun says W. Wow. See, you know what's interesting about this? I'm never shocked that we have an overly optimistic view when we do this as a group. But I think it shows people how optimistic they actually are when you get in a collective too. Because everybody wants to be, look like they're making the sage choice on things and saying, I'm going to go 8-4. But when you really start talking about it, even if you're just doing it for fun, people are like, well, we could win that game. I could see it. And this is why I like doing this before I give my my official prediction on the year. I'm counting at least 4 wins, 1 loss, unless there's a couple losses that come here in like the next second or two. We're going to count it. 3, 2, 1. There it is. A win for Auburn in Fayetteville. Our collective has predicted a 9-1 start on the year, folks. 9-1. And I know some of you are just predicting wins just because you want us to get to that lofty goal. But this is why we do it, because it's fun. All right. Very quickly here. Let's talk about the New Mexico State game. This is what I feel like should be the homecoming game, but it's hard to manage that and senior day. I don't know. Part of me, we've had this discussion on the Auburn Experience show where I talked about how frustrating it is that it's so early, the homecoming game. Even if you're wanting to honor the seniors, what better day to honor them than homecoming day? And it gets people hyped up for the last game, because think about it. This is usually, every other year, this type of game is the last game of the season. And people don't really get excited about that one unless you're there for the seniors and one last time in Jordan Hare. So with that in mind, it is what it is. New Mexico State, we got to look at them already. They lost to UMass. If we beat UMass heavily, that should tell you that we beat New Mexico State. All right, starting now, I will take official votes on this. Type in W, type in L, type in win, type in loss. One of those 4. Give me your prediction here. Does anybody dare say that this team, no matter how the season has gone thus far, that they will lose to New Mexico State? It is funny that two of our weakest opponents have already played each other. It's pretty funny when you think about it. Mexico State will be a nice game to nurse injuries. I think these all came in at this right time. I'm not sure. Oh, there it is. I knew somebody was going to do it. Win, 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 and win, and win. There you go. So official. We'll count it. And the one person that wanted to put the L in there. That's a win. All right, listen. We have reached the final game of the season. We're about 48 minutes into the stream, so great timing, because I want to leave some room at the end for discussion with you guys for open topics. And I'll go back and hit some of your other comments probably that you asked during the stream. Auburn versus Alabama. Hold your predictions, but let me know your thoughts on this game. Alabama is currently ranked number 4. People have looked at their schedule, looked at this team for Alabama. Most people are quoting the quote-unquote quarterback troubles. I don't necessarily view them as troubles because that team is so talented. See, let me go back to what we were talking about with Georgia earlier. I will say this, I feel more confident about LSU and Alabama being for real than I do Georgia for some reason. Is that dumb? Probably. That's why I'm not paid the big bucks to do this. It is simply my opinion. It's just what I'm feeling. I think Alabama, if you're counting Alabama out in this because of their quarterback troubles, that's the wrong way to look at this. But if you're saying because Auburn could be better than most people think, and if Brian Harsin in that year with your third string quarterback almost at that point, because TJ was playing on half a leg, can come into your home stadium and nearly beat that team, Bryce Young is the quarterback, folks, you can win this season. I already got my tickets for this game. So do I. Let me just say this, folks. If you're planning on coming to this game, you need to buy your tickets now. If there's any left on I know they're on the secondary market. the price will not be any better than it is now. Maybe if Auburn tanks in that gauntlet, get your tickets right now. If you're wanting to be there for the Kick Six celebration, all of that, this is going to be an incredible end to the year. Win or lose, be there. You feel like they're rambling a little bit right now. And I understand the people using the quarterback as a discussion point for why they may not be good, but I'm just not putting a lot of stock in that personally. Close one, but we can handle them. Got a chance. A lot of teams are going back to the running the ball. Bama is stacked at running back and offensive lineman. It always starts up front. Kaylee says it is a fact they will not make the playoff. I don't know about that. I'm not going to rule them out of that opportunity yet. The best prices. Go to Game Time for the best prices. I see I put it together. Yes, that is true, but you're running the risk of not getting in. I did that a few times, and boy, I cut it close. I would say secure your tickets now. In fact, we're about to become, let me just use this as a quick plug. By the way, folks, if you are wanting to buy tickets this season to football and other sports, we're about to be an affiliate of StubHub, the official, SeatGeek, the official partner with Auburn Athletics. So if you buy them through our link, you'll help keep our show going here. So that's not official yet for us. We got the confirmation we're in. I've just got to set everything up. So think of us if you're wanting to buy tickets. Go through our link through SeatGeek. All right, looky here. Let's see. I think we've hit all the commentary. Let's go with the official vote. Iron Bowl. Give me a W, give me an L, give me a win, give me a loss. Those 4 options right now in the chat. What say you? Our collective vote. I'll only accept if it is a W, if it is an L, if it is a win or a loss, just for simple counting measures. Because I see sometimes you put them in the comments, but they can get lost in there. And I don't know if it's an official vote. What is the consensus here? This is one that's very easy, very, very easy to say that Auburn wins because of everything that's around it. And I think of all the games, though, that you could look on Auburn's schedule that you'd love to see a major upset pulled, Texas A&M, LSU, Georgia, and this one, this is probably the one where you look at it and go, that actually might be it, because Texas A&M is on the road, LSU's on the road, Georgia is what apparently everybody expects it to be. So there it is. We've got a triple W, a WW, an L, a W, an L, an L. So we are tied. I think these are official votes here. Yeah. I think I got all these in here. So we are, actually, let me go. I think this is our first official vote here. So this is why I asked you guys just to do an L or a W or a win or loss, because it gets a little confusing. 2 losses, 2 wins, 2 losses, win, loss, win. I think I'm counting this correctly from the ones that count, and we have a loss by 1 in this one. Some of you are predicting blowout win. That doesn't necessarily negate it. We'll give it another second or two. Anybody that hasn't voted yet. And there's a win. So we're about even. I will say this, in a push situation, I'm going to give it to the other team just because we can't reach a consensus on it. So we'll give another few seconds for anybody that hasn't voted yet, and we will move forward. Could be the year. If it's going to be this year, it would be beautiful for it to happen on the Kick Six anniversary, 10-year anniversary. But since we are tied in the official count, I am going to give it to the Alabama Crimson Tide to give us some reasonability on this final prediction for the record. There you have it. Our collective predicts 10-2 on the year. Losses to Alabama, losses to Georgia. Now, whether you agree with that or not, let's talk about this for a second. Is that acceptable to you? Let's just assume this happens. Whether you think it's going to happen or not, let me know. if Auburn wins 10 games, but 2 losses are Georgia and Alabama, how do you feel? Is it a successful year? Of course, you're going to be disappointed with losing to both your major rivals. But is it, in your mind, a overachievement? Is it an overachievement that stings a little bit too much? What do you think? Yeah, and Elliot, I know you got here a little late, I think, but this is just for funsies. And so we tend to be a little bit over optimistic in the funsies mode. So we're not likely going to see this scenario, but this is what our collective has voted. Be great for Freeze. Yeah, I think if Freeze does this, even with losing to Georgia and Alabama, boy, he's going to be looking pretty good. That's a good year, but everyone only cares about beating the best teams. That's true, but you will have beaten LSU in this scenario. You would have beaten Texas A&M, who's supposed to be good overachievement. There you go. All right, so in our prediction here, if we go to 10-2, that likely puts us in a New Year's Day bowl, overachieving. I would say in contention for that. So that means if we got there, or at least a decent bowl game, that's a really solid year, whether you win or not. Because if you lose to Georgia and you lose to Alabama, you've probably not made it to the SEC championship game, just given the fact that you're going to have to go through probably Alabama in 2 losses. And unless they had 3, even if they had 3 losses, they would still have the tiebreaker on you. So you'd have to beat Bama to get there. All right, we are about a little over 56 minutes in. I've got time, just for a few comments and questions. If you've got anything that you want me to address here at the very end of the show, go ahead and drop it in now. Let me give you what's coming up next. Tomorrow, you do not want to miss our live call-in show. We've got the Auburn Family Night, 8 Eastern time, same time this started tonight. Don't miss it. I'm sure we'll be talking all about this. Don't miss that. Always a good night, and you can call in to the show. We have a plan for a Thursday night preview show of some sort, or a video, one of the two. Just be on standby for that. If it's a live stream, it'll be at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Channel members, if you're not a channel member, you can get access to some extra content. In fact, our Conquer Club members, which includes the YouTube channel members, had access to call in tonight. Nobody took advantage of it, but we do things like that for them, including the Booster Club members as well. I need to change the content because it's all the Conquer Club now, but always check out the links in the description for ways that you can help support us if you're interested in doing that. We are mainly fan supported, and the more you guys are able to help us, the more stuff we're able to do. But on top of that, we don't always mean that financially. That's great. It's probably the biggest help, but you can help us by liking this video, sharing it, telling a friend, following us on social media, all those things to help us continue to grow. All right. Let's hit some final comments and then get out of here. Question, how bad were the L's? Question is how bad the L's are. Were we competitive? In our scenario, it sounded like what people were talking about, that we would be competitive versus Alabama. Georgia's, in our discussion, sounded like it would be somewhat competitive, but most people are thinking Georgia's for real. I'm a little skeptical on that right now. I think Coach Freeze puts us on the path to rising to the top of the SEC. In our scenario, he already did that. A winning year shows recruits it can be done at Auburn. They already know that can happen, but they need to see that it can happen now. Yes, Deshaun, thanks for being here. Appreciate you hanging out with us. What time is it on Saturday? 2:30 kickoff Central Time. So actually, let me scroll up here and then I'll get out of this. Yep. So 3:30 Eastern Time. Let me go ahead and move out. There we go. And take final questions and comments. SEC is stacked. Do you think we can win a national championship with Hugh Freeze leading the team? I think so. Just a lot of uphill battles to face in this year. Natty by year 5, but we rebuild for the next 2 to 3. It's probably not a bad perspective to have. Thank you guys so much for being here for our interactive live stream. I always enjoy doing these and hearing your perspectives, even if sometimes our predictions are a little lofty. 10-2 is what we predicted here. Probably not going to be my official prediction coming out soon, but I appreciate you guys being here and hanging out with us and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. And I hope to see you tomorrow night, 8 Eastern time. Don't miss it. Bring a friend, tell a friend. And the rest of this week, including on campus, got a lot of content coming out for you. Till I talk to you again, War Eagle.